Today I am here in my little garden, as you can see. So these are my okra. You know, we made a small garden at the back of the Garden of Saints, of Filipino saints. And we harvested a lot of okra. Almost every morning for like a month and a half, me and my sisters would go to the back of the Garden of Saints. We harvest around 2 or 4 pieces of okra. So that's what we do. What my staff would do whenever she needs leaves, I don't know if they call this onion leaves or sibuyas, she would just go here in the morning. Whenever she's cooking, she would just go here, bring her scissors, and then cut some leaves. No? So, but I love the radish salad. No? So you just make it with some tomatoes, and then put some vinegar and a little onion leaves or sibuyas and a little shallots, and that's it. No, it's already very tasty, a very tasty salad. So that's why I'm excited for all these radishes. See how it goes, no, in terms of yield. So over here we have plenty of papaya. No? These are the papayas that we planted. Actually, there were papayas before here, but they already died. And so these are new ones. And we also have our calamansi here. And some, of course, kamote in tops, no? The talbos ng kamote. And again, talbos ng kamote is very good for making salads. Uh, just the same with radish. No? You just put vinegar, mix it with vinegar, shallots, and onion leaves, and so on and so forth. No? And then you have the kamote tops. Maybe one day, whenever these things are already ready for harvest, I will also make some cooking episode of preparing our talbos ng kamote and okra and radish. So more or less, this is the garden that we are planting here, and hopefully it will yield. I'm excited for the harvest time. It will still be quite some time before we are able to do that. But of course, the talbos, I think, of kamote, we can already harvest it, some parts of it, no? So at the same time, proning it. So that was the garden. That usually, as I said, every morning I do water the garden. No? I do the watering. Sometimes at night time, like around 8 o'clock in the evening, I also do the watering. It's stress relieving. It makes me feel relaxed. On the other hand, I remember that there were also several projects with regards to, planting. You are having gardens in your homes, but they all failed. Huh? Remember, during the time of Marcos, we have this green revolution, and where every household, every barangay was being encouraged to have their uh, garden, like herb or plants or something that you can use for your food, failed. And at the same time, during the pandemic, I also encountered some advocacies with regards to food sustainability. And one of those projects, we're asking people to have their own gardens in their own backyard. Again, it failed. Why is it that these things are failing? Well, number one, I realized that gardening with a small plot, well, this is just a small plot, about 100 square meters, I think, is very expensive actually. So it is expensive. That what that what we can say is that this is a kind of a vanity project. If you don't really have love for gardening and you are doing the gardening for like food sustainability, the cost and the effort of planting a garden, taking care of it, you know, like if you are living in a subdivision or in an urban area wherein water, you buy water from the central water stations or from a water services provider, it's going to be expensive. The, the harvest is not going to be equal to the amount of money that you are putting in there. That's why it is absurd. No? I find it really absurd to have all these advocacies of, food sustainability by growing food in your own backyard. Number one, why is it that I find it absurd? Well, it's absurd because those who have backyards, especially in the rural areas, they are already planting in their backyards. Hindi ba la? Ang mga tao nga may mga duta, may mga backyard nga lagpad sa mga like mga uma, no? May mga gardens na sila yan. So, it's like barking at the wrong tree or preaching to the choir, as they say. Balo na ba sila nga magtanong kay, nagapananom naman na sila. Okay, now if you're going to tell me that you are advocating food sustainability by having a backyard garden to people who don't have the backyard, well, the irony is, not the irony, but the reality is they are not planting because they don't have land. And so they propose you'll have a vertical gardening. My God, if you're living in an urban area, like for example in a squatters area, or even in a subdivision, every space is already utilized for family use. You can seldom see a house in the subdivision, like for example here in my subdivision, where you can plant, like grow plants that will be able to, that you can use as food. It's already absurd. Ano siguranin no? Mga advokasya bala nga plant sustainability in your doing your own backyard, that is absurd. It's laughable. Like for example here, okay, I have a good amount of, well, this is not really good, but a small amount of available land. Of course, this is better having some garden here rather than laying to waste. Like there's nothing done here, just as a vacant space. So better have a garden. Pero in the end, if you're going to calculate the cost in terms of my harvest later on and the money that we spend having this garden, of course, pierde. In the long run, maybe next 3 to 4 harvests, like of the radishes or of the okra, and we are still planting there like opo, ampalaya, and other things. So in the long run, it may cost, the cost of preparing this will will at least equal or even then surpass, so that we will have a net profit. Okay, given and granting that that is the argument, that you don't really gain profit from the garden in your first cropping, but it can be in the next 3 or 4 cropping or harvest. But my God, if you are going to grow this for what you call this one, either for profit or for food sustainability, still, it is not going to make a lot of difference. It is just going to be like not even a dent. So that I think, the reality now, the reality of the world is this. We have already lived in a way that we are all interconnected. So, we have already gone into that macro level. No? It's so difficult now to go back on a micro level wherein you become self-sustaining with a very small amount. Well, maybe there are some of us who have lands who can be self-sustaining. Well, given. Pero we have gone from that time wherein we have gone beyond that time, an opportunity wherein a person can live alone. No, we cannot go back to the time wherein you can grow your own food and be able to live independently of the institutions and industries that has already devoured us. So I think the best thing in terms of advocacy is not having such absurd ideas of, planting trees, etc., etc., taking care of the environment and like you go and clean the river. But how much can you clean the river without the help of the big companies and of the government? Pila gid kabilog biya nga basura ya, pila ka sa ako nga basura mahimos ang kabataan da. Like you're telling me like the youth will have to clean the river. Okay. How many youth do you have? Like 100 youth. Okay. How many of them will really work? Maybe at the end of the day, you can gather 5 sacks. It's so, amidst a mountain of garbages. It's becoming absurd, no? To the point of absurdity. For example, planting trees. Okay, where do I plant trees? I'll plant all trees here. Well, maybe yes, but can I plant 500 trees here? And I will ask my parishioners to plant trees. Where did they plant the trees? In their own backyard? They don't have backyards. No, my point is this. Doing things on our own in a small scale is okay, but it won't make a lot of difference. Because nowadays, everything has become industrialized. So I believe the right direction for making a difference is in the level of institutions and industries and companies, in policies, advocating for what we call as environmental well-being. No, we try to take care of the creation. How? Well, they said, okay, avoid using plastics. Well, okay, but can you really avoid using plastics now? Can you? I doubt it. Really, I really doubt it. For example, kamo, nalata mo sa grocery, for example, pag baka yung plastic niya pundala niyo, even how much you want it, it's part of life. So, we just surrender to that being part of life? No, the answer is also no. But making a difference on our own, small things, would not make a difference actually. So what do we do now? O madala ka basket. You advocate policies, not those little things. No? For example, okay, in one department store, they have this eco bag. But how many of you are bringing eco bags? Well, wala. Konti. Yan. So that's my point. Okay, for example, when you go home or when you're watching at home, how many of you are segregating garbages? Jutay lang. Ngahaw nga jutay lang. Because we don't, number one, we're not really aware of the recycling. But at the same time, it's not a way of life. And maybe we can adapt that way of life. But question, how many of us will adapt that way of life? Culture, many of us Catholics are very, very cultural na lang. Very cultural. Like for example, in my own chapel, I have been advocating that we follow the minimum health protocols. Like wear face mask and face shield inside the chapel. Naku, I have a hard time really. I really have a hard time convincing the people. Because they just want to go to church because it's Sunday. But they have their own biases and their way of thinking in terms of the face mask. They want comfort. So they want to wear face masks. So when I started, reprimanding, they started wearing face masks. But it also reduced the number of my parishioners who goes to my church to attend Sunday Mass. Maybe iba sa laylo sa ibang simbahan, nga wala ay nagasuso sang face mask. So pag gustuhan sila kung magsusok sila akong butanan sa ila nga aligagngag. Sila liog ang face mask, no? So you see, it's really difficult. That's why in my previous podcast, in the word and the world, I've been saying the change of the mind and the heart takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time. But at the same time, if you really want to make a difference, you do it in terms of influencing institutions, no, and companies and industries, institutional levels of policy, influencing the crafting of policies and decisions. So, my dear friends, that is for today. Again, this is my garden, and I'll update you when how things will be going, and especially when I started harvesting the yield of my simple little garden here. Thank you very much, and I hope you got some points to ponder. It was not a very exact presentation. There are still many things that you need to reflect on because I really intentionally hung the questions and the statements so that you can also think. Pero at the end of the day, every one of us is invited to make a change. But personally, but in terms of institutions, how about it? No? What are the ways by which institutions are supposed to influence us and society? Thank you very much. Have a lovely day to all of you.